Hello and welcome to episode 36 of the barn door restoration. Last episode I built and installed these pass-through tubes and the top hats for the shifting rod. This episode, no progress this episode. What I'm going to do is talk about where I'm at and where I'm going over the next year, what work I need to do. Kind of a filler episode while we're on vacation. So where I'm at, this lower chassis is getting almost finished. There's not a lot of work left. The heater duct that goes through is probably the next thing that needs to be welded in place. Because the welds are inside the cross members, need to be done before the top hats go on. It also needs to be done in the front before the floor can weld in, because the floor kind of blocks it in there. So that's my next part to get in. That'll allow me to finish off the bulkhead, get all this framing welded up, the inner rockers, jack points, all this stuff can go on. And it'll allow me to build the front floor. And that's 5 separate pieces. I'm actually looking forward to doing that. There's a lot of pressings and stuff. It should be fun. So once that's done, this lower chassis is basically finished. Then it's time to start working on the upper body. So once the lower chassis is basically finished, time to start working on the upper body. I'm going to start with the B-pillars. I'm going to restore those and then put them in. The reason I start with the B-pillars is the bottom is dictated by this front cross member, the width by the bulkhead, and then they just have to be perpendicular to the frame, so they're straight up and down. So once they're in place, I adjust the bulkhead to make sure that they're nice and straight. Once they're welded in, it'll give me the height of the drip rail. It'll give me the space to the A-pillars, so the doors fit. It'll give me measurements to the back. I can just basically do everything off the B-pillars. And so I'll work with 2 different directions. Working forward, the nose of the bus is quite rusty, but everything's there. So I'll have to disassemble it, take the nose skin off, take the A-pillars apart, rebuild all the pieces and put them back together. I can then put the A-pillars in. I'm going to build all new drip rails because most of them are pretty rotten. There's a few sections I might save, but most of it's gone. But with the new drip rails, that'll give me my clamping surface around the top. I can set my A-pillars in. I can get my dash bar across, square up the front, and then make sure the doors fit. Because that's the big thing in the front, is to get the doors. The doors need to fit, and they're not that easy to line up. So basically, it's the easiest thing to do is just take the door, make sure everything lines to the door, and use that for positioning. So whether I use a door jig or an actual door, I will have to ensure that my original doors are not bowed too much or too little, because they're quite easy to get too much bend or not enough bend in them. So I'll ensure that first and then use it for fitting. So once the frame around the front of the cab is done, I can start back. Now the left wall, if you look at earlier videos, there was 2 doors cut in here, and the part in between was rotted away. There's nothing left. Now back section where the vents are, it was all good, so I will use that back section. With this section, I'm going to use donor parts. So the lower panels, there's a seam at the lower piece of the belt line. There's a spot welded seam. So the bottom panel is 1 piece. And I have that off a 61 panel I harvested the side off of, which is good. It needs a little added at the bottom, but besides that, it's pretty good shape. So I'll use that. It also has some ribs in it, but the horizontal ribs, 2 of them are different on later splits than on barn doors, so I'll have to make 2 of them. But the other ones I think I can use. The vertical ribs I think are the same. There may be a few details different. I'll have to look at what I have left of this side and see if I can see the details on what this one had compared to what the newer ones are. Now the top window sections I have from a late 55, it was a post barn door window section, but it's exactly the same, and I'll use that whole piece. It's quite rusty, but I'll take that apart, take the inner panel off it, repair both of them, and then use those. The inner panel of a late 55 is the same as this 54. So let me build up that side. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to start adding ribs on here and then adding the skins after, or if I'm going to make a table, lay the skins on, weld those together, then weld the ribs in, and then put it on as one unit. There's advantages of doing it on a table. It's going to be easier to work the metal, but I haven't decided on that yet. The right side quarter panel was actually in fairly good shape. There's parts that I don't think I'm going to have to take apart. I am going to take the rear corners off. That seam has rust in it. Not enough to swell, but there is rust going into it, so I'm going to have to clean that up. The rest of it looks really good. Basically what I found is in the seams that are spot welded together, if there is zero swelling and no rust right in it, then they're perfect. You open them up and it's just nice, basically bare metal. So, and I found that in quite a few places where I've taken seams apart, that where it was swelled even the slightest a bit, there was rust. But if there was no swelling, the metal was good in there. So when I media blast that side, I will check, and if I see any swelling, I'll take those seams apart. But if not, I'll probably leave them together. So it's really going to take a lot of, I won't know until I actually start tearing stuff apart how far I have to go with that. I do know the back corners, the back panel, and all that all have to come apart. There's rust and seams on those. Probably we'll just be able to take them apart, clean the metal up, and reuse it. I may have to add some lips on if they're too rusty, but it doesn't look that rusty. It just there's some in the seam. So basically, I have to rebuild these parts so I can set them up, clamp them with a drip rail, put some horizontal braces in, and line everything from the B-pillars and get this whole back lined up. Once everything's in place, cargo doors fitted and such, then I can start welding things in. But I don't want to weld in anything until I have everything clamped up back here and square. It's a lot easier to wait and get everything ready than it is to weld stuff in and have it not straight and then have to try and work around that. One thing I hate is removing perfectly good welds. So anyway, that's kind of where the point I want to be within a year, is the upper body basically framed up and the skins on. Now, probably no roof, probably not the nose, but the rest of it I'd like to have done. The nose and roof are going to be quite time consuming also. You know, after the upper body is done, there's also going to be the intersection here where you get fenders, the floor over the transmission, you got rear side floors, the cargo area floors. I'm not sure when exactly I'm going to install those. It's possible to put them in before putting the sides on. I'm not sure what advantages are going to be there. So it's kind of I'll do that as I get there. I'll figure that out. So yeah, about a year for the upper body roughed in. Probably another year to finish it off. So I'm thinking it's probably going to be 2 years for paint. I think that's probably realistic. I'm not going to rush any of this. I'm just enjoying the process, having fun doing it. I guess that's all I have for this video, this short one. I just wanted to get something out where we're away on vacation. And I had some questions about how I was going to go about doing the body, how that was going to work. So I thought some would find this interesting. Last episode, I had some audio issues, some static, so I apologize for that. I'm going to order a new microphone. I hope this episode's coming out good. I think it is. I didn't have time to re-record the last one, so I ended up having to leave some of it in. Just hit 1,000 subscribers, so I want to thank everyone who's subscribed. I appreciate it. Not sure what I was expecting when I started this whole video thing, but it's become more, I guess, more popular than I expected it would be, since barn doors are kind of a narrow interest. But yeah, thanks to all that subscribed. I'm going to add some video of some of the parts I have kicking around. in the barns and stuff. So you can see what I'm going to be working with to actually recreate this. A lot of the parts that come off this are still good. The nose section, a lot around the rear and the right side, but this side and the roof and such are going to be a lot of donor pieces for that. Well, thanks for the comments. I appreciate them, and thanks for watching.